On April 18th, experience TNA Wrestling's most brutal pay-per-view of the year, Lockdown. Anderson versus Angle, Team Flair versus Team Hogan, The Pope versus Styles. Before the first bell sounds, TNA Films takes a special look at the heated feuds that will rage inside the steel cage.
Do you know fear?
Do you know fear?
You will.
You will.
You will. Are you scared? You better be.
What would you do to win?
What would you do to win?
Whatever it takes.
How will you survive?
How will you survive?
By any means necessary.
Would you follow me into hell? We're already there.
What happens when metal meets flesh?
What happens when metal meets flesh?
Things get messy.
Things get messy.
Won't you join our little party? Won't you join our little party?
Inside.
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 Inside the steel cage.
The Steel Cage. It's one of the most feared matches in professional wrestling. An edifice of pure terror, where careers can end in the blink of an eye. It is the traditional battleground for professional wrestlers that wish to put an end to the fight once and for all. In this match, there are rarely any true winners, only survivors.
The steel cage match, it's the most ruthless, brutal, and sadistic match in all of professional wrestling.
Like a recurring nightmare, the Steel Cage returns to TNA Wrestling on April 18th in the most dangerous pay-per-view of the year, Lockdown.
We were sitting in my office talking about Lockdown and how the name felt so strong to us, and we knew that we were going to have a really solid cage match, highlight that pay-per-view. And then we thought, you know what, how cool would it be to really take it up another level?
I like the fact that issues are going to be settled inside of the cage and that every match is in the cage for one reason or another.
In this business, to have something special in professional wrestling, you got to do something pretty different.
Having all steel cage matches in one pay-per-view, there is no other pay-per-view like it. That's what makes TNA different. That's what separates us from everybody else.
Tonight, we take a special look at the men and women who will risk everything when they step inside the twisted steel.
You're surrounded by about 1.5 tons of solid steel. There's nowhere to escape. There's no way out. And it's a weapon. The cage itself is a weapon. And guys that know how to use it can do a tremendous amount of damage with it.
There's so much involved mentally with walking into a cage and knowing you're going to do your best to injure your opponent using this metal behind you, using this steel.
A steel cage match is very dangerous because it's very unpredictable. I mean, you can go into there with a specific game plan, but let's be honest, all bets are off in a steel cage, and it can make someone even my size crumble.
Tonight, we look into the face of fear, and you will experience the terror.
It was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. It was one of those things that people talk about, and they still talk about it to this day.
Enter at your own risk as TNA Wrestling proudly presents Before the Bell, Lockdown. Cold and foreboding.
Why is it so dangerous?
It's so dangerous because you add a steel cage to a professional wrestling match, you got 100 new ways to injure somebody.
Steel cage match is one of the most brutal matches in TNA.
A lot of people that never step into a ring wonder things about the canvas in the ring and how soft it is or how hard it is. They don't have to wonder that about steel. Everybody knows the steel hurts, so that's the extreme measures that you take a match to when you really need to go the extra distance to settle a dispute.
The steel cage has developed a nasty reputation in professional wrestling.
The fans can expect violence, pain and suffering, and above all, brutality. A steel cage match is probably the most brutal match there is in professional wrestling.
Me personally, I don't like steel cages. I don't like to get in them. I don't like to wrestle in them. I don't think anybody does. And the reasons we do get in there are because sometimes it's necessary. You want to make sure your opponent stays in that ring. Sometimes our egos get to us, and we decide that we're going to have that match in that steel cage.
The steel cage match is arguably one of the most violent matches in pro wrestling, and it's what most pro wrestling purists think about when they think about the most violent match in pro wrestling.
In the confines of this steel prison, careers can end in the blink of an eye.
The thing that makes a steel cage match so dangerous is you're pretty much surrounded by a cage. You're like it's like two wild animals just going at each other's throats. There's a lot of times a lot of temptation to jump off something with height. So that's what makes a steel cage interesting to me, is because I always have opportunity to steal the show in some extreme way.
What makes an all-cage match pay-per-view special, the whole show, from top to bottom. Every feud that you've loved and watched over the couple of weeks, over the couple of months, over the couple of years, gets settled right then and there.
The steel cage is a brutal means to a sadistic end.
Steel cage match is always necessary when you want to make sure it's just you and your opponent, with no interference, no outside intrusion, and nowhere to run.
But make no mistake, even for the victors, a price must be paid.
I've always been bloodied up, or you pretty much expect it. Once you get out of a steel cage match, you're going to have some bumps and bruises and some cuts.
There's been many times in steel cage and or the steel asylum matches where I've literally fallen from the top of the cage to the ring. That is something that takes not days but months to recover from.
It's one of the matches that takes time off of your career. You're never the same.
It's one of the most violent matches in professional wrestling today. Lethal Lockdown.
The Lethal Lockdown match is ultra violent.
Lethal Lockdown is basically a traffic jam with death at every turn.
You never know where you're going to get hit, how you're going to get hit, and what you're going to get hit with.
To be in that type of chaotic environment, you really got to be focused, not only protecting yourself, but dishing out punishment and sort of have a reckless abandonment to see who gets the craziest. Most of the time, the craziest, the biggest risk takers win that match.
Without a doubt, the Lethal Lockdown match is the most dangerous match. At any given time, your career could be over.
Lethal Lockdown pits two teams against each other in a desperate battle for survival.
Well, Lethal Lockdown is the most brutal match in TNA.
A lot of things can happen quickly. It can get real violent. And, in years past, we've had guys climb out on top of that roof. And, AJ Styles years ago fell from the top of the roof. I mean, there just so many things can happen with so many guys.
The rules of Lethal Lockdown are simple. There are no rules. Just 10 men locked inside a steel cage with weapons. Simply put, Lethal Lockdown is a nightmare for those locked inside.
There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Nobody can get in, and nobody can get out.
This grueling contest is more than just a spectacle of violence. It will ultimately determine a position of power within TNA Wrestling.
Well, in Lethal Lockdown, Team Flair can expect the end of all the carnage.
It got real personal out here with me and Ric Flair.
This year, the animosity has reached unprecedented levels as Hulk Hogan and the Nature Boy Ric Flair assemble their soldiers for Lethal Lockdown.
Because at Lockdown, with you as the team captain, brother, of Team Hogan, we're gonna go head-to-head with Team Flair. It is a new day here at TNA, and at Lockdown, I'm gonna take care of business for you, Hulkster. In that Lethal Lockdown match, I'm coming to get you. And when I do, you're not gonna need any more wheelchairs or crutches or bandages. What you're gonna need is a mortician.
Hogan has an inferiority complex. He wants to be Ric Flair.
I'm the king of cage matches. You should know that. If you know the history of the greatest performer of all time, you know I'm the king of the cage match, the king of the steel. Team Flair will be so prepared, so eager, so thirsty, I'm sure, and guarantee not only victory, but I guarantee you someone, possibly even Hogan, will get hurt very badly in that cage. And Abyss, you've tried to kill me, AJ. Can't do it. Do you know why? Do you know why? Because we are not mortals. We are wrestling gods. To assure victory for Team Flair, the team captain is Sting.
This has gotten personal with Flair. Everything that he's done has been a personal attack on the people that I admire, the people I respect, and the people that I think are going to be leaders in this company. Flair has cheap-shotted even my own family at certain times. So this, in TNA, with Hogan versus the Flair team, this is way personal. That's why it's going to get so much uglier than it ever should have been. We're going to end all the dirty business. We're going to end all the personal agendas, and it's going to be one way, TNA way. Flair and Team Flair has to go down a lockdown. If this company is going to get to where it needs to be, we have to end the reign of Team Flair.
With the stakes higher than ever, Lethal Lockdown is sure to be one of the most talked about matches in pay-per-view history.
This is how it has to end because Flair doesn't understand anything else. He likes feeling the warmth of his own blood. He likes seeing people in the carnage around him. He likes seeing bodies laying in blood. So that's the way. Live by the sword, die by the sword. That's why Lockdown is the most violent, most dangerous thing going in TNA today.
Hogan, bring your best possible showing. The strongest team you can bring. But be prepared to be destroyed, demolished, and embarrassed by Ric Flair, the greatest of all time, and Team Flair. Woo, woo, woo!
A 13-time world champion and Olympic gold medalist, many consider Kurt Angle the greatest wrestler of all time. A true warrior, this Olympic hero looks to extract some major payback of his own at Lockdown against the pompous Mr. Anderson. Last February, at Against All Odds, Angle and Anderson faced off for the first time in the 8-card stud tournament.
Wait, what's he got there?
That's the medal that Kurt wears around his neck, and oh my God.
Oh, God. Kurt's bleeding bad. Mr. Anderson's just bringing the violence here.
Drives him down face first, head first with the mic check, and gets 2 and gets 3.
You gotta call that an upset.
Are you kidding me? That's disrespectful.
I never in a million years would think that anybody would disrespect what that tag meant to me.
On the Impact following Against All Odds, Kurt Angle explained to the world the significance of the Warrior Medal, and the true scope of Anderson's contemptuous acts were realized.
Mr. Anderson, I'm man enough to admit when I get beat, but that's not what pissed me off. You see, what pissed me off is what you did with this. I've had a real difficult year and a half. I had an appearance down in Fort Hood, Texas, at an Army base. And I had one soldier come up to me, and he said, Kurt, I believe in you. And he said, I want to give you this to remind you of who you are.
When I wrestled Mr. Anderson at Against All Odds, when he grabbed my tag and he basically cut me open with it, he didn't disrespect me. He disrespected the soldiers that gave that to me.
When the match was over and your hand was raised high, you could have walked away the winner. But you came back and you dropped this on my chest and you spit on it. Mr. Anderson, I'm gonna make you suffer. When you go down that road with Kurt Angle, there is no coming back.
I am not here to make friends. I am here to win championships and make a boatload of money. That's it, period, point blank. So, I went after one of the top dogs in the company. The only Olympic gold medalist in the history of this business. I went after him. And yeah, I spit on him.
because that's just the kind of guy that I am.
Let me get this straight. I'm supposed to feel sorry because I spit on some metal.
You know, I see that little hunk of garbage around your neck as nothing more than a utensil to carve you up, man.
While Kurt Angle has been in countless main events and championship title matches, the showdown at Lockdown with Mr. Anderson will be one of the most important tests of his career.
You know, I've had a lot of success in pro wrestling, Olympic wrestling in my life. I'm regarded as the greatest wrestler in the world right now. And I think that Ken Anderson wasn't respecting what was valuable to me. What he was trying to do was get ahead. And obviously it worked. But what he did is gonna end up being something he will regret.
You know, Mr. Anderson's treatment, it has taken disrespect and dishonor to a whole new level.
This, on the other hand, is pretty amusing.
Oh, it's real. It's damn real.
You had to wonder how long Kurt Angle was going to put up with this crap. And playtime has turned into payback time for Kurt Angle. The Angle slam on Kurt. Oh! Anderson taking that Warrior medal, this latest attempt by Mr. Anderson to show his scorn for Kurt Angle. This is disgraceful.
I brought a few of my closest friends out here with me tonight. These are the men and women, Mr. Anderson, who are willing to stand up, fight for, and even die for people like you and me. And as a proud American, it is my duty to protect and serve these soldiers when like you degrade them.
Anderson tossed into the ring by Angle. Whoa, he just backed into a wall. Known as the U.S. Army. The Olympic gold medalist, he tasted sweet revenge.
You see, that's the thing. Kurt is trying to make this about him and the military, and I disrespected the military. I disrespected Kurt Angle. I spit on him. His medal happened to be in the way. So what? Get over it and quit trying to play the sympathy card, okay?
Kurt Angle, he wants to dismantle Mr. Anderson.
This is Kurt's opportunity here to really show up Anderson.
Physical battle here, physical battle, a lot of bad blood between these two men.
On 2 occasions, he's used the Warrior medal to, in his own words, carve up the head of Kurt Angle, and it looks like Mr. Anderson is going to do it again. No!
Whoa! I think Kurt was playing possum.
Oh,
man!
It's Kurt Angle using the Warrior medal on Mr. Anderson, and you talk about carving up somebody's head?
Kurt, I tried to have a straight-up match with you tonight, and you had to resort to cheap tactics to get the victory. You know, Kurt, that the only thing you're gonna be doing tonight is laying in bed with your eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The word that's gonna keep going through your head over and over again is Anderson.
On April 18th at Lockdown, these two men will settle the score once and for all inside the steel cage.
Mr. Anderson, you disrespected me. You disrespected our soldiers. You disrespected this country. And for that, I'm gonna make you pay.
Come Lockdown, I'm gonna whoop your okay? I learned a long time ago that nice guys finish last. Well, guess what, Kurt? Thank God
On February 14th, the Pope, D'Angelo Dinero, defeated 3 men in one night to become the #1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
He did it! For the Pope, D'Angelo Dinero. Tonight was truly a case of winning when it was against all odds. My God, he did it!
When Pope went in there with his back up against the wall, so to speak, and I'm talking about going against 3 of the absolute best that this business has to offer. Pope got the job done.
Pope overcame the valley lows, and here he stands right here tonight as the #1 contender to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
When Pope won the 8-card stud to be the #1 contender for my championship, what did I think about it? Honestly, I wasn't thinking much about it.
I'm the champ. You're nothing. Nobody going nowhere.
On April 18th, the Phenomenal One will put his coveted TNA World title on the line against a man on a mission.
For Pope to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, what will that mean? Well, Daddy, what that does is that solidifies what Pope has said from the moment that he has arrived here in TNA, that he is, without a shadow of a doubt, not just the best, but the absolute best. When you are the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, you are the best that this business has to offer.
The Pope has recently seen his star ascend to main event status in TNA Wrestling.
The steel cage is one of the most dangerous creations there is when you think of how barbaric it can become when you put two individuals inside that have so much animosity, so much hatred towards each other.
While the Pope feels that he's ready to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion, he still must defeat the most decorated superstar in the history of TNA Wrestling.
Pope, you came out here to my home, the house that AJ Styles built and tried to make it your temple.
With the addition of the Nature Boy Ric Flair as his mentor, it appears that AJ Styles and his confidence are flying higher than ever before.
He's the greatest wrestling machine I've ever seen. He's custom made. He is the TNA World's Heavyweight Champion, which makes him the greatest athlete alive.
The only thing I think I've been able to impress upon AJ is we don't take any victims. You know, we don't take anybody home. We go out to get what we have to get. We win at any cost.
Since becoming the #1 contender, the Pope has had his problems dealing with the underhanded schemes of the phenomenal AJ Styles and the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, my mentor, how has he changed my wrestling game? Let's just say there are ways of getting around or even bending the rules without breaking them, as long as you don't get caught.
You can talk about being influenced by the dirtiest player in the game, but I have to admit, I never thought that we would see this from AJ Styles, Ric Flair or not.
With lockdown looming, confidence is on the side of the TNA World Champion.
Look at me. I mean, it's not just the fact that I'm an unbelievably awesome / phenomenal wrestler. I have the looks to go along with it.
Ambition and determination are on the side of the challenger. Now these two are on a collision course with destiny inside the steel cage at Lockdown.
How am I preparing for the match against Pope at Lockdown? You know, I'm actually kind of sick of these questions. It's not about Pope, it's about AJ Styles. If anybody should be talking about the match, it should be Pope.
With the TNA World Heavyweight Championship as the ultimate prize, there is no limit these two men won't go to achieve victory.
I don't think anybody ever said to him, AJ, to be successful at this sport for a long period of time and to be the man, you've got to be a real badass.
I think we're going to need some medical attention out here for the Pope. Just when it looks like his career's about to skyrocket, Styles and Flair, they bring him right back down to earth.
The Pope going up against the phenomenal AJ Styles, a man who's been mentored by the dirtiest player in the game, Ric Flair, Pope, you have no chance.
No matter what type of piece of crap that you have just inherited, you can dress it up, you can put shades on it. At the end of the day, he's still a piece of crap. And anytime that you have individuals trying to disable you from making a living, this thing is more than just about being a threat, Daddy. Everybody knows that Pope is a threat of mass destruction.
My prediction for Lockdown between AJ Styles and the Pope for the TNA World Heavyweight title, I gotta go with the champ. I think AJ Styles is just riding that wave right now. Ric Flair is teaching AJ how to be a great champion.
It's so difficult to go against the champion, the built-in, the inherent advantages that the champion has. But something tells me that Lockdown in St. Louis, that's going to be the Pope's night. That's going to be the night for D'Angelo Dinero to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion for the first time.
The anticipation for this main event has reached a fever pitch, and on April 18th, when the cold steel door closes, we will find out who is truly the best in the world.
Come locked down inside the steel cage, Arthur, you're gonna realize that Pope is indeed not only just the most charismatic, pimp-tacular, hand-clapping, foot-tapping, pimp-slapping, blinging attire, always on fire, Pope D'Angelo De Niro, but you will know that Pope is indeed pimping.
I'll tell you this, Pope. The fact that I'm even bringing your name up doesn't matter. But the fact that you're getting into the ring with AJ Styles in a steel cage, know that something bad's gonna happen to you.
A cold day in hell is on the horizon, and on April 18th, at TNA Lockdown, the madness begins.
I'm new to TNA. I feel the energy of all the fans everywhere around the world. They're excited for my return. I feel them behind me. I'm not just doing this for them. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do.
At Lockdown this year, I think the fans can expect what, Lockdown always has to offer. Killer cage matches.
First of all, if you're the type of person that happens to enjoy watching others put themselves to every kind of physical, mental, and emotional test known in this business, Lockdown's the place to be. It's going to be a lot of violence. It's going to be a lot of pain, more than likely, a lot of blood.
You're going to get a lot of excitement. You're going to get a little bit of violence. At the end of the day, you're going to get really, really solid, super sound, entertaining, exciting wrestling.
The athletes of TNA Wrestling prepare for their toughest challenge of 2010, when every match will be held inside the menacing fortress of twisted metal, known as the Steel Cage. Every competitor has something worth fighting for.
Kurt Angle is a formidable opponent. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just that much better.
Revenge.
There's a lot of strong feuds going on that make sense to be played out in an all-steel cage format.
Championships.
When that door shuts, Pope's gonna have to look into my eyes. You know what he's gonna see? He's looking at the best wrestler in the game.
Pride.
I don't approach the ring like a lot of wrestlers do. I go in to stand out.
Don't miss the most dangerous night of the year in TNA Wrestling.
This is going to be wrestling history. This is the rise of the newest, greatest company in the wrestling business. It's going to be ugly, but when the smoke clears, you're going to see all the energy, all the new stars of TNA still standing strong. Lockdown in St. Louis, it's going to get real ugly before it gets real pretty.
The next chapter in the Hogan-Bischoff regime is about to unfold in TNA Wrestling's most brutal pay-per-view of the year, Lockdown. It's a jagged battlefield where every heated feud and championship will be settled inside the steel cage. Plus, the Harbinger of Hell returns, Lethal Lockdown. TNA Wrestling presents Lockdown, live Sunday, April 18th, only on pay-per-view.